Hello, hello, hello. This is Zach Spicer with JTNS. This month we're going to be talking about tree cutting and compressed line hazards. So let's take a little glimpse of what we're going to try to impart some knowledge about this month. I know there's a quick video clip right there, but saw that fella at the wrong spot at the wrong time trying to help out the situation and didn't actually help out that much, did it? So, of course, while we're talking about this, is we've got some interesting numbers here. Seems like not only storms are getting worse, but their tornado alley keeps scooting our way a little bit more over in the southeast. You can see some upticks in trends and the catastrophic kind of weather and damage we have here. And of course, with more storms and more frequency, the more damage it's doing to our industry. Some quick chainsaw tips, just FYI. If you take one spot and you got that chainsaw running wide open, you can see that 600 teeth pass that one spot in 1 second. So if it were to cut 1/8 of an inch for every time it passes that one spot, you're talking about 75 inches that thing can saw through at that one spot. FYI, you're not supposed to be drop starting saws if they're over 15 pounds. Need to be put on the ground, foot in the hand guard and hand cranked on the ground. Or if you're in a bucket or on a pole, you can drop start them. Of course, with chainsaws, do anything like that, safety's first, of course, right? We know the owner's manual. We got to rely on it to help us give useful tips and tricks to how to operate that thing, not to mention the PPE, hard hat, safety glasses, chaps, whole 9 yards. The problem tends to be this: it's not necessarily that number 6 copper or that number 2 ACSR that breaks, that pulls out of sleeves, it breaks cross arms. It's that fiber with that 3/8 stranded guy wire that's lashed to that fiber or that Comcast or that AT&T. And as more and more electric utilities get into the fiber business, that doesn't break, it tends to bend, right? So we have that compressed line stored all that energy, and now we have to go about safely removing this. So like I said, we've had an uptick of this just not only in Tennessee and the southeast. We've had lines or trees spring up after they've been on a line, come down, crush fellas, lines or tree limbs come down, break legs, hit hard hats. We've had a pretty big uptick in this simply because that line doesn't break. Some of the reasons what we found out, right, is improper cutting techniques, lack of proper equipment. You got that little 12, 14-inch bar and you're trying to get through that 30-inch red oak. Not enough people in the crew. You know, you might take a 5 or 4-man crew, cut them in half to run treble work or storm work, try to get the lights back on quicker. And then lack of right-of-way clearing experience. It used to be that the right-of-way guys were part of the electric department. Now a lot of them are actually just contractors. So we don't have a lot of that inbuilt in the electric departments anymore. Proper cutting techniques. We've got to remove a tree that's lodged in another tree or lodged on that line. You can undercut from the bottom or cut from the top, undercut from the bottom, and let that hinge work up off there, right? We're cutting small pieces at the bottom and working our way up. And of course, that's when you can't get a bucket to it. You're doing that to kind of control that energy, right? To help control the way that tree is going to go. There was a video there that I couldn't get embedded here properly, but like I just said, we cut from the top and then undercut from the bottom. It's almost like a break cut we're doing on poles, right? You cut about halfway in between top and then cut about halfway between on the other side from the bottom, and allow a piece of that meat, right, a piece of that pole to actually hang on to itself. Same approach goes for cutting trees off compressed lines. Same thing with this video here. Wasn't able to get it in there properly, but it still applies the same way. Other things you need to be aware of. I know we're trying to control this, right? We're trying to undercut or overcut and undercut, try to walk it off the line, but that doesn't mean it's always going to go that way, right? Depending on the time of year, if it's leafed out, if the sap's run up, if it's heavy up top, it might roll to the left, roll to the right, or stand up completely straight up and down and fall backwards on you. Every situation is 1,000% different than the last. A lot of this is going to be on the job training and younger guys watching the older guys and learning from them. Some things we don't do often, just simply because we're trying to get things done quickly. We're trying to get the lights on quickly. But if you got the time, use some rope, right? Dog off to that line, dog it off to a tree, dog it off to a truck, and as you cut that tree, cough off that line a little bit and let that spring tension, let that kinetic energy off that line just a little bit instead of it springing off there all at once, right? So if you have to, drag another hand line out with you, throw it over there, and then dog it off somewhere, and that'll help control that energy as it's coming up. Doesn't have to be a big tree. Doesn't have to be a big tree at all to weigh a lot of weight. All right, that's the problem with it here. We're trying to judge this and go based on the things we've done in the past, but everything changes as soon as you drop that saw into it. You could be sawing to that tree, the saw just sort of drops out, next thing you know, the tree is hollow, right? So now you got to change your entire approach, because what you thought was a decently healthy tree that you could work with, now you're working with something that's old, dead, and can't be trusted in the way you thought you could trust it. When it comes to these cutting these trees off, we got to consider what we can do out there in the field to try to mitigate some of these hazards, right? Best thing we can do, first and foremost, we got to be trained to recognize this. We got this PowerPoint here, which is just to notify you of the issues that we're seeing and the problems that we're facing. But honestly, the OJT out there on the job, man, the on-the-job training is going to be the best thing for you. If you can get some kind of company in to actually cut stuff, you can get hands on it. It's good training. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't do it, be humble enough, right? Be a big enough fella to actually back up and call the professionals in, right? Call that tree crew in, call that contract crew in. Have them come in there and help you out. Lay another set of eyes on it. Get another foreman, get another crew out there. Somebody's been there a little longer, dealt with it a little bit better than you, right? That way that, the more heads, right, are better than, or two heads are better than one, right? So that way to help out the situation, get another set of eyes on it, and everybody get to walk away safely from this. Make sure you take the time, look at the whole situation, determine the danger zones. I know my granddad had it this way. Anytime we cut trees, we log woods, anything like that, the first thing you do is have a way out, right? You have a way out, a way away from that thing. That way you're not exposed. If you do get into a situation where something's fixed to go wrong, you've got a good, clean exit path that you can rely on, right? Clear the underbrush, clear the tree limbs that you've cut out. That way you can drop and run and get out of there. Not to mention, make sure you have the proper tools, big enough saw, ropes, enough people, because we're not doing this during the 72-degree weather daylight hours, right? We're doing this at 10 and 12 at night when it's snowing or storming. You need eyes, you need flashlights, you need people watching, because what you think is going on down here at the base of that tree may something a little different up top. It might be twisting or turning, and you're not really catching that down there when you're cutting. Like we said, access that situation carefully before beginning. Use proper techniques, ask for help, protect yourself at all times, and like I said, when in doubt, call the big guns out, right? Get that tree crew and get that contract crew out there. That's what they do for a living, right? They don't come out there and put the line up when the tree gets off of it. We do that, right? But we partake into actually cutting tree limbs, part of our job. It really isn't part of our job. But we go out there to get the lights back on as soon as we can, to get the meters turning, get the revenue coming in, get the customers happy. And of course, it's a good feeling to get the lights back on. We greatly appreciate you this month. I know it was pretty short, quick little program here. This one right here, honestly, in my 2 cents, this is something that's better learned on the job. You're going to need the help of the older generation out there to help you identify this stuff and to learn from them. That's the best thing you can do, is to learn from them. Thank you for your time today. I hope y'all have a safe one.